Good morning. How's it going? Ooh. Alright. So right now, I'm in a thought process. Well, looking through Facebook, seeing all these other things of how to teach people what it is that I've learned. This is a daunting task, a difficult place. People are all in much different spaces within the process of their enlightenment, their awakening, their liberation. And so it seems kind of difficult. I happen to be the bearer of teachings of absolute perfection in every moment, no matter how the moment is. So whether you're going insane or if some crazy event's happening, if you're getting hurt, if physical things around you are falling down and getting broken, destroyed, and recompiled into completely different forms, who knows? And no matter what's occurring. So with all the world and all of its events, and with all your personal life and all that event and all those things, so all the teachings that I have are things of this nature. But how is it easiest to bring upon these teachings? Well, really, I would have to be observed. That would be one of the biggest things, is observing. So maybe that's why I speak so much to you, and I try to bring you into so many different parts of the process, because I want you to see how it is all perfect and release the judgment of yourself in any moment. This is the biggest deal. So I'll say anything, I'll do anything, because I wish to exude the potency of perfection and give you an opportunity through the gateway which is me. I'm a galactic activation portal. You can enter me if you like. And, see that as use that as a gateway through your own personal judgments and releasing of them, so that you may find yourself in a place of peace and place of understanding, so that you're not shaken by anything that's happening in the world around you. I have said before, probably on video, that I imagine the Buddha as somebody who is like in a protective bubble of golden rays, shining light, and it could be walking very peacefully, very undisturbed through a war zone. Bombs dropping all around him, and he's just continuing his regular pace. He's just walking as if he's walking through a flowery field or something. You're like, look at this guy out here, what is he doing? As you're ducking and dodging, you're like, whoa, this is crazy. Bullets are flying everywhere, bombs are dropping everywhere, people are dying left and right. I'm so disturbed, what's going on? And there's the Buddha. What a beautiful day. Or however, and it's a really interesting thing. He's just going along, or maybe the Buddha would be going insane, like, whoa, jumping, dodging, whoa, but having a good time with it, no, who knows? He'd be very authentic, that's for sure. But anyways, no, I imagine the Buddha just undisturbed by any wave of energy around him, and somehow, because of this, he is completely unaffected by everything occurring. For him to step into the bubble of the Buddha, you would step into a Goldilocks zone, into a grace zone. You would step into a golden ray, a beaming, sun-shining, unconditional, loving light. And you're like, what in the world, I now feel very peaceful. Let's just go sit with the Buddha. I know there's bombs dropping around, but I'm just going to go sit with the Buddha. And he's sitting right now. Oh, he's walking. Okay, I'm going to walk with the Buddha. It's going to be fun. Here we go. Oh, I'm kind of hungry. Oh, the Buddha's going to lead us to some food, maybe. If not, then I'll just stay with the Buddha. It's okay. Eventually something will come good because I'm with the Buddha. Very peaceful, very wonderful. Undisturbed by any waves of anything going on. Now, do I wish for you to walk around being undisturbed in this way? I don't know. I would remain authentic and natural in the moment to whatever is going on, how things are moving us. But we can see them in a different way eventually, and we don't have to get so caught by them where we're trying to hurt or kill or affect or do all these kinds of really amazingly crazy things. I mean, at times I see things going on around me I wish to do with them. I'm like, oh, let me do this thing. Or I hear something going on. I'm like, oh, let me go and do this. But in order to do that, I would have to be this energy and then that energy, and I would have to go over there, and I would have to, Now, there is a way to be a warrior. There's warriorship. Now, to be able to be balanced in your warriorship is going to take a ridiculous amount of authenticity and a ridiculous amount of centering. It's been to me that I've been able to do this in the past. I've been able to stand there as a warrior in unconditional love for all beings and be able to send love to my brothers and to my sisters that have become very angry with me. And the more angry and the more shaky their energy gets, the more still I become somehow. It's very interesting. And so I'm always balancing the moment in some way. When you become crazy and unstable, I become still and sturdy and extremely centered. But I'm still able to respond. I'm still able to, what some people would say is react, but I am responding. I may be yelling even, or raising my voice to match your own voice, or who knows what's going on. I'm reflecting what is actually occurring there in the moment, though. I'm not really getting stuck in the storyline of calling names back and forth, or trying to overcome or anything like that. I'm just saying, what is happening, and I'm being there surrendered to that kind of thing, and it's a really interesting thing. People have seen me in this kind of an energy, and they'll be like, whoa. Stay away from Ryan right now. Ryan has something going on with him. I can't believe he's arguing with this person in this way. There's something very different, and he didn't even stop to acknowledge me. Well, no, I don't know if you could notice, but I was channeling something right there. I don't know if you saw what was happening. I kind of am locked into an energetic frequency and a reflection. I know that you think you're very important and that I should break out of it for you in the nice, polite manner that many people do, but as it turns out, I'm surrendered to authenticity. I'm surrendered to what it is that I'm already in, and I am not surrendered into changing my reflection to ease your perception of me in any kind of way, shape, or form. That would be an interesting controlling mechanism, a manipulating mechanism, a way for me to be like, oh, don't worry, no, don't worry, I wasn't that, I'm this now. See, you could be my friend forever. No, I just be whatever, the moment's telling me. I'm a warrior. And so it's nice. But, yeah, observation. You'd have to observe what was going on for perhaps an extended period of time to understand what it means to actually be within the realms of perfection. You see, when I talk to somebody, I'm able to bring through many different teachings and many different things, many different expressions. And I love to do this. I'm a super channel in this way. And I love to bring through the teachings of life. And when I'm sitting here talking to myself, I kind of have to hope that it comes up in the moment. It's like, okay, well, where are we going to go? I can't direct as much. I kind of just, flow off the top there. And so wherever it goes when we're conversating in the videos is wherever it goes. And we just channel it through and we just see how it happens. But this whole thing started, at least, with the contemplation of how it is I could teach and how I could bring these teachings in a very powerful manner, because I would like to show you guys very powerful things, but it's perhaps not possible to bring those through in certain ways. The mudras, the breath, the following of the breath, the teachings of all these things, because we really need the heart resonance. This is the big deal. We need to be in the shared intention, the intention of the universe. We need to be sturdy trees in that way for the benefit of all beings everywhere without one exception. If we cannot do this, it's going to be very difficult for us to develop any kind of bodhicitta, any kind of energy towards enlightenment. If we can fully find ourselves in the surrender of ourselves to give ourselves to the mirror of consciousness and then therefore reap what it is we have sown, we fully give all of ourselves and we, in return, get all of ourselves, and it's amazing. And we can now be all of ourselves in a way that is beneficial to every being everywhere without one exception. Now, if we wish to only be beneficial to this being or this being, this will not occur, this will not work. We must wish to be a benefit to every being. Now, maybe some beings will go away forever, who knows for sure, but that is not for us to decide. We are to wish for them the greatest of salvations, whatever it is. If somebody was to go away forever in some way, vanish from the face of existence in some kind of a manner, shape, or form, this is a very sad thing. Also, it's a grace for this thing. There's nothing that would happen to harm something or to condemn something or to damn something. This would be something that would be for its benefit, just as if a cell were to perish inside of our body. It's not because we hate that cell. It's because that cell can see very clearly that, oh yes, I am not serving the rest of the whole, and I'm beginning to poison the rest of the whole, and so I must now go away from the whole. We are one body in this way. Everything is very reflective of itself in this manner. Oh, this is fun. This is cool. I like to be able to reflect these things to you. These are very simple teachings and patterns and lines. You can see the cycles of somebody right here in their eyes. This is a nice cycle. The end that's not. But you can see where the cycles go. You can see how it works. And then this is also the toroidal field. So you have your toroidal field here, the bottom tornado coming up into this point, the center point of our body, right here. You can push into this forever. And then you have another toroidal field here. And you have, there we are. There we are. What do we have? What do we have? The magnetic field just right there written on our body. The magnetic field, really amazing. Phenomenal. Wax on, wax off. Cycle here. You can see the cycles and the patterns written on people's bodies. If you are to do mirror work or anything like this, then you can actually see how it comes from this point and how it wraps around the body, how the words, the language, and the ribbons of light wrap the entire blueprint of the body, and you can start to feel how energy moves. When you start to feel how energy moves, you start to know, the pattern in which to spin. The joints are spinning. Every one of the joints are round and they spin. And so through giving yourself personal massage, connecting to the breath, being with the breath and all of your motion, allowing all the body to work together as a cohesive unit. Then you start to feel the energy grids, follow the energy grids. You don't decide, I'm going to massage this and then I'm going to massage. You feel it and you follow it. 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 Breathing into every point. Sometimes you stop on a point and you breathe into that point and you breathe and you breathe and you breathe and you help the energy move. You get the energy going the way that it wishes to be going. You continue that. When you move that all over the body, you release the tension, you release the energy, you move the energy through. As I was telling you one of the last videos about how I sharpened a staff, I realized that I was like a staff and that energy is a lot in that way. And so I learned how to sharpen my own energy in a manner, in a shape and a form. And so it's really beautiful to find this out, how to do this. And so I learned how to use my thumb to speed up my energy. And then I started to realize that my arms were like feathers, and I could grab the very many strands that I've already seen myself and already experienced and already opened. And through doing this practice, I could move my energy much more quickly. And I could get it moving very fast. One of the ways that I used to explain this was that it were atoms, and atoms spin very, very, very quickly. And so you have these both very stable atoms going on. And but they're spinning, and so you just follow it. By the way, you follow the line. You don't start doing things in your own mind in a certain way, and sometimes you can, because your mind is aware, you're observing. I'm not saying not to use your mind. Your mind is a beautiful, wonderful thing. When it becomes the observer, it can see the pattern, it can feel very well, it can determine what to do and how to trust and when to trust and where to go, and that's a beautiful, wonderful, and amazing thing. But yes, so you just continue, whatever it is. I started down here this time. Typically, I would have started way up here. I would have started at the shoulder, feeling that. It's a little different. I'm not spinning the joints right now. That's not what I'm doing. Right now, I'm just grabbing the nadis. I'm grabbing the energy lines like feathers. This is what it is like. It's like feathers. Have you ever seen anybody with a feather? And they grab the feather and they move it. They get the energy moving. They feel it. They feel the spirit of the feather. They move it through. They use the feather for clearing. They do all kinds of wonderful things. And you can use your hands as feathers. Your hands are like feathers. These little tiny lines that we have on our hands, these very tiny lines right here, these grab energy in a really amazing way. The fingerprints, the band patterns, they swoop very tiny strands of energy, because everything is a very, very, very tiny, very, very tiny strands of energy everywhere, all over the place. A giant tapestry woven together in a really amazing manner, the web of life. And so you can swoop and grab. You can clear energy in this way. You can clear energy in that way. You can clear energy in a great many ways. I recommend falling into surrender and not deciding on your own. I mean, you can. I mean, I'm not saying not to go screw. I mean, because there's a part of you that does know what to do and how to do it very precisely. So you can go fully into something very well. But eventually, when you connect to these things, it would be best if you don't go from a place of mind. Because if you go from your place of mind, it's going to be kind of more difficult. You could get lost in your ego. You could be trying to cause things to happen in certain ways. Like, I think that this rock needs to be moved here. You don't know if that rock needs to be moved there. Or maybe you do if you're connected to the higher chakra centers. But I would watch out for this as well, because sometimes you could be cooked into a higher chakra center, and you could be discussing things with a being that is not quite the being in which you need to be discussing with. So if I were you, I would get in contact with my higher self, my deepest self, the source of us all, the heart of us all. Get in touch with your heart center and allow that to be the guide, because this is a very steady and stable guide. This is not a guide that ever becomes in the process of power mind. This is a guide that can help you rest within the center the entire time throughout all of the progression of your chakra centers, and that is a really amazing thing. For me, I've been moving through in a very balanced and reflective way because it's the way in which I'm to bring information into the world. And so originally I had a Kundalini awakening, you could say, where I moved from my root chakra, which was deep fear and darkness, all the way up through my crown chakra, where I saw through the magnetic field. I was connected to all realms of existence. Everything was as my own flesh. I could see in a 360-degree angle because I was here seeing through the all-seeing eye. Above my head right there. Amazing. Wonderful. Like an onion, it wrapped out of me, and it came up, all the lines and energy strands connected to my eyes. It was a gorgeous, really amazing thing to kind of feel like you're not a human, you're part of literally everything entirely. It was all literally as my flesh, and this was the body, yes, but that was all the same flesh, and I was this point of perception up here, and I understood everything in my life to connect very perfectly to that moment, and now I can see that this is how it is for everybody, that I'd only gained the information that I needed to bring context to that scenario, and also to bring me to that scenario. So everything that had happened, whether I perceived it to be good or bad, and I'm telling you, 27 years seemed like a hell realm for me. You know, there was good parts in between, but it was very difficult for my mind, and I was very strong, though. I stayed sturdy and stable for long enough to be able to come to this amazing clearing within myself and understand the perfection of us all and unconditional love for all beings everywhere without one exception. This was an amazing, wonderful thing. And to be able to see things as perfection, you know, to be able to see everybody as perfection. That was a huge releasing of judgment. Whenever you look at somebody and you think of them as wrong or not okay, or you're looking at them as crazy or whatever it is, greater or lesser, however, you can remember that they're perfect. You're like, oh, but they're perfect. And when you start to remember that they're perfect, it begins a lightness to your heart in some way, and maybe a curiosity as well. It's like, or maybe not a curiosity, maybe you're too scared to be curious about it, but you still can remember it's perfect. But if you do remember it's perfect, it'll probably ease your mind. You can be like, oh, this is the Buddha, wait a minute, oh, okay. How is this the Buddha? What are they showing me? That maybe you can't figure out in the moment. I wouldn't dwell on it for too long. Or do whatever you feel like you must do, you know, it's all perfect. Just follow your heart on that one. Sometimes I observe for a second, like, what could this be doing, you know, what is this? Well, it's definitely clearing energy in some way, it's definitely expressing in a manner that could be disturbing to people, so it's getting things within them to the surface that they don't like to look at constantly, and they don't like to look at it, so they're going to, like, go away from, oh, it's making me feel bad, I gotta get out of here. It's like, well, nothing's making you feel bad, you just got something in you that's coming to the surface, and you're like, I don't want to feel this. But, you know, you could be completely undisturbed by anything going on around you, but, you know, it's your choice to be disturbed. It's okay. I mean, I don't want to be around certain areas either sometimes. I'm not saying that I walk around, like, undisturbed by things. But I move energies through, and that's what really helps me not, you know, care about it. I'm like, I'm not really disturbed. I'm not really in judgment of the matter. But I can express really openly about it in a really crazy fashion, and it helps allow energy to move through the channel that is me, because energy hits me, you know? So I get hit by this energy, I'm like, ooh, I'm like, oh, and so I can, like, be like, whoa, stay away from me, but now it's going to stay with me. It's going to stay with me longer, because I've decided, no, but instead I could be like, integrate, move through, you know, however it goes. And it's wonderful, you know, somebody that's seemingly insane throws some super shade at me, I just throw it right back. I'm like, whoa, and it's an amazing thing. It's like, whoa, what in the world was that? And it's kind of fun. And then, I mean, the only thing that gets me is like when other people are perceiving me, and then it's like, oh, shoot, they were judging this for sure. Because I still somehow have a tiny bit of a worry about what some people could possibly think about me. I'm like, ooh, they're going to judge the crap out of me. It's going to ruin the cohesiveness, the harmony of my reality. And it's going to be very difficult for me to help these beings if they're thinking of me badly. It has happened to where I was like, boom, 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 and then somebody that was around me couldn't handle it and they had to go away. And this actually happens more than just once, actually, now that I start to feel into it. But that's okay, you know. Everybody's at their different place, and who do I want to hang out with and cater to their ego instead of, you know, just send them away anyway. It's nice to just do that. If they can't see the wisdom of what's occurring, then okay, they can't see the wisdom of what's occurring. I'm not going to make them. That's silly. And so, you know, there's a lot to happen. If people would come in and observe the teaching that pours through me all the time, but they want me to observe them, they want to feel equal, they want to do all these things, and they are equal. I mean, I don't have any reason that they're not equal, but everybody has something to say. I understand they all have something to say, and typically it's about their life in some manner, and that's a beautiful thing. And I like to work through those things with them. It becomes difficult, though, because we somehow become in some weird ego competition. I talk about myself sometimes. I try to point out myself in certain areas. And it's not really that I'm meaning to do this. It's something that occurs within the moment, like everything else. Like this conversation we're having now. You know, like, have I decided the flow of this conversation that we would talk about crazy people? I had no idea when I started this. I just woke up. You know, I'd stayed up till 3:30 in the morning watching movies, or they're crazy movies, and I think they're coming into my dreams, because my dreams are, like, all mixed with the movie content, and I'm like, I don't know if I really want to be doing this. Maybe I'll stop doing this, and I'll start watching more conscious things that are helpful for my consciousness. I don't know. We're learning, though. We have to experience things to learn here. It's part of my deal. Some movies I really like. They're movies about mastery. I'm really big about things that are about mastery. When it's not about mastery, I don't really feel like it's very great. I like masters. I like people that are extremely highly intelligent and don't make any real mistakes, and if they make a slight mistake, they can recover from it very quickly, and they know the proper things to do in order to do so, and they do so with grace and with elegance. And I'm really into these kinds of things, these honorable ways, the ways of the sword, the ways of the samurai, the ways of a martial arts master, the Asian cultures, the Eastern cultures, and just, their honor, their integrity, these things, these amazing moral values and codes that are held so high and so beautiful, that I don't see in many other traditions, not even the white people. They're kind of more hard and in their way, and, slaughtering for no reason. But I like mastery, martial arts mastery, and people that have mastered the body fully, the mind fully, the spirit fully, and who bring those kinds of things to the world, because that's just so gorgeous, to be able to do that. So anybody who's got this amazing skill and mastery, I love to see these kinds of things and relate to these kinds of things and empathize with these kinds of things, take in the coding of these kinds of things, and be able to hold myself in the same energetic resonance of what it is that I'm seeing, I'm viewing, that I'm perceiving. Who knows if everybody else perceives it that way, but these are the things that catch me. I'm like, yes. Very beautiful. So, I watched this movie, The Grand Master, recently, and it was just like, I can watch that again even. It was just so beautiful. What an amazing day. I had my tablet then. Now I don't have my tablet anymore, so it's like, no need. Who knows how long I'll even have this phone now that I think about it. Holy moly. I'll have to go somewhere to upload these videos eventually. I don't have any money to get it reset. Well, that's okay. Not a big deal. We'll just follow the flow and see what it wants us to do. Maybe I'm not supposed to be doing this. Maybe I need to be doing more things in the world in a different manner, shape, or form. Maybe I need to be working. I don't know. I really like to work, actually. I love to do things. I love to help people. I'm a great worker. I'm really wonderful at these things, but we don't always do them, do we? Because we're doing a different type of work. And I really like any type of work, but I want to do the work that's of the highest value to the benefit of all beings, and not the one that's just the highest value to my personal self, even though being valuable to my personal self is of high value to other beings. I'm not saying that it is not. I love myself very much. The more I do for me, the more I do for you, and that is why I'm trusting. You see, it can be very difficult to trust in this world. We have a very hard time trusting. I mean, you go ahead and you run out of your last dollar and you tell me how long you can trust before you fall into anxiety and fear and go to fix it. How long could you just sit there and trust that everything is okay? And imagine, what if you were to do this and then find out that not only were it okay, but it were vastly more okay than it's ever been before? And you'd be like, this is odd. But how long could you sustain it? Would you be like, okay, I'm going to trust, and then you're going to fall out of trust. And you're going to be like, no, now I need food. Okay, yeah, it worked one time, but now what about now? There's no food here now. I mean, there was for like 1 second, and I ate a meal, but now I don't have any more food. Is it going to come again? I'm sitting here waiting for it to come in the same way it did that time, but now it's not coming. I don't understand. Am I still trusting, or what's the deal? And then you're like, okay, fine. I don't need any of it. Fine. I'll trust again. I'll trust that even if I don't eat, it's fine. If I do eat, it's fine. If I, whatever is fine. Maybe I feel like asking somebody for something, but I won't do that because asking for somebody for something is wrong. So I'm not going to do that. But that is my natural, that is one of my natural feelings. I don't know. But we'll see. We'll just trust that it'll come even without asking them. Because you might ask somebody, then you want to ask another person, you want to ask another person, and you want to ask another person, then you're constantly asking somebody for something, and now this is your new addiction. You had food addiction before where you would pay for food, and now you have another addiction where you have to ask people for food all the time. So every person you see, you're like, oh, I'm hungry, do you have any money for food? And now you're living with people you don't feel very good, and they don't feel very good. You're wondering what is going on, and so you're having all this extra whatever. And you can trust, some people do trust. You see the people that trust on the street, they don't do anything for anything. They just sit there and they don't do anything. But somehow they're fat. And they have plenty of food. You're like, well, are they fat because they don't exercise, or are they fat because they have many foods? Well, I tell you this. If you don't exercise and you don't have food, you will not be fat. You won't be fat. I'm sorry. You will lose all of your fat to your hunger and your starvation. And you'll become very thin. I've done this. I have even exercised and done this. You'll become very thin. Scoops of rice for $1.13 or however it was a day. Not very great. It's not a sustainable diet. You become very thin. And worried. You could become very worried. And if you have a specific diet that you're holding on to, say veganism or something, you become even more worried because the chances of somebody giving you food based on your diet becomes much more slim. But you can trust that they will, though. You can be there. Maybe I wasn't trusting that. Like, they seem to only want to bring me meat. Might be the universe saying, Ryan, please, eat this meat. It's an offering. Just as you are offering, the world is offering, and everything is offering. We're all offering to one another, please. We're giving our lives to each other. We're eating of ourself constantly. You are eating some part of yourself if you're sustaining yourself. Even when you become a toroidal field generator, you are somehow taking in and then putting out the same amount of energy, which is still consuming in some way yourself. But it's doing the same thing in a different form because it's not taken from something that seems to be alive or has a certain form or shape. It's now siphoning in the pure essence and siphoning out the pure essence. And that's an amazing thing. It's a phenomenal teaching. This is a place that I believe that we can all reach. But it's not something that I think that we should try or attempt before a time when we simply realize that to be the case, and then we begin pumping out that energy, and then we just don't seem to really need to eat, I have come to points in times where my energy was booming so much where I didn't feel like I needed to eat. But then I began judging the eating, so I did start to feel hungry, and then I was like, no, I'm not going to eat. This hunger is wrong, in some way. And then I would lose great amounts of weight and muscle. Actually, I would lose muscle as well. And when you're losing fat, you're like, oh, okay, cool, yeah, not a problem. But when you lose muscle and you're no longer strong, you can't pick up things, a gallon of water becomes very heavy, start to hurt your joints and all of these things. You can tell that, okay, maybe something is off here. Maybe something is not working out. Something has gone awry. And so let me figure out what's occurring here. And it reminds me of the teachings of the Buddha. The Buddha found the middle way after becoming ascetic, and they were like a bunch of men. They would even compete with each other in some way. They'd be like, I have only ate a grain of rice today. I am the best. And another person would say, oh, wow, you have done very well, I didn't eat anything at all, or whatever it is. They are competing with each other to see who is the better person on barely living on anything at all. I have renounced everything. You see, I am the greatest renouncer of everything. Fun, right? Still in their ego. Can you tell? And so, anyways, he was washing in the water. I don't know if he was washing his clothes or what he was washing. He was washing himself in the river, and the river's current picked up, and he wasn't strong enough to get himself from the river out of the water. He got swept away by the water. He had no strength in his body. His muscles were so weak from not eating for so long. It swept him away, and he almost died. Luckily, it washed him up on shore further downstream, and as he's washed up on shore, gasping for his life, barely able to move from the fight he just endured and having no muscle to do anything with it. You see, before, he was a person that was very strong. He had all of the pleasures of life. He had all the food, the women, the drink that he could possibly ever desire. And so now he knew the extreme of pleasure, and he knew the extreme of renouncing, or you could say pain, but, you know, it's of lack, of not having and having great, you know, and so as he's sitting there gasping for life, a woman comes up to him and gives him I think it was a bowl of rice, is what one of the stories is, or maybe other stories. And so he eats this, and he can see that it saved his life, and that he's so grateful for it after his struggle with the water, that he finally in that moment realizes the middle way. Okay, not too much of everything, and not too little of everything. So I'm not supposed to but barely eat, and I'm not supposed to overeat. I can middle eat, you know, center eat. And so he understood the middle way, and in understanding the middle way, this was what led him to go and sit by the Bodhi tree, where he decided that he would not leave the Bodhi tree until he understood the cause of all suffering. Now for me, I would love to just go and sit somewhere for 7 years. I mean, who knows if it's possible? When I was told the story, it was an evening that it took him. I was told that it took him an evening. And so this to me seemed much more doable. But I've heard people say 7 years and people say 7 days. I was told it was an evening. And so for me, before I had heard any of the other stories, this was the story that I believed was true. And so for me, I believed that we could all do it in an evening. And so this was lucky for me, because I wasn't trying to go, okay, now I must go sit for 40 days and 40 nights, or I thought maybe it would take me a week tops. I was like, maybe it'll take me a week tops. But then it turned out that to realize whatever I realized only took me a day. Did I realize to the level of the realization of the Buddha? I don't know. It's possible that he was realizing more and more as he went. I can't tell you what he realized and how far he realized. I mean, he was free from samsara. But what shape did that take? People will say, no, he was not free from samsara. Look, he's still existing in samsara. He taught until he was 81 after that. He was enlightened when he was 35. Something to this nature. So, you know, not everybody could see. Some people really didn't like the Buddha. Some people wanted to kill the Buddha, and they were unable to kill the Buddha. The Buddha was untouchable. He was for everything and not against anything. So no matter what you did, you could never harm the Buddha. He had no energy, possibility for that kind of a gateway to occur. These are things I try to bring people to so they can feel very safe in themselves. But it's very difficult because judgment will block us from this constantly. I'm always going to bring up judgment because judgment is the biggest cause of our binding and our reality. The biggest reason and why we're not able to realize ourselves fully. You can't see all of yourself if you're judging some part of yourself. You know, you judge one part of yourself, you're practically judging all of yourself. So, you're going to have to come into love, into harmony, into forgiveness, into acceptance, into gratitude for all that you are, no matter what you are. Maybe you're a murderer, maybe you're a thief, maybe you're this, maybe you're that. You're going to have to love these parts of yourself unconditionally.